Hey everyone, Bob Thibodeau here. Welcome to another leadership tip for today. Yesterday, I introduced the topic of different roles of people who play on a team, and I used the baseball analogy. And they can be classified basically as players, managers, and leaders. Now, today I'm going to tell you, and we'll discuss a little bit more in detail, the role of a player. The player is responsible for performing whatever needs to be done, whatever needs to be accomplished that day. If you're in a factory, you have a job to do. If you're in an office, you have a job to do. If you're a truck driver, you have a job to do. So whatever role you take, even if you are self-employed, there are day-to-day activities that need to be accomplished. You are a player as you accomplish those tasks. Now, players typically do not have a role in managing the team. If you're a solopreneur, that's a little different. But like I said, there will be days where you are a player. You're doing the mundane tasks. And there'll be days where you're a manager. You're getting everything ready to do the mundane tasks. And then there'll be days where you are a leader, where you are looking out at the strategic view of things and making plans accordingly. But typically, and going back to the baseball analogy, the players usually do not have a role in managing the team. Now, they may use an informal chain of command and be able to exert some peer influence on others as well. Now, that is how they begin the process of transitioning into management and leadership. Same thing in the military. During my military days, I was, started off as a private, buck private, E1, and I was working my way up. By the time I was a PFC, I knew my job. I knew it well. And I was beginning to be given some responsibility in that area. And as I continued to perform well, I earned the respect of my peers. Even though they were privates and PFCs with me, they knew that I knew what I was talking about. And that was soon recognized. I was promoted to E4, started to be supervising a little bit, but I didn't know it all. And I was not involved in the long-term planning prospect of the unit or anything like that. So you can have that informal influence with your peers when they know you know what you're doing. Okay. And it is not given. They just didn't go, oh, Bob Thibodeau, you are so smart. We're going to put you in charge of a platoon. And I was at E3, right? That wasn't going to happen because there were E6s and E7s and E5s and other E4s that knew a lot more than I did. Okay. And they knew about planning and training schedules and things like that, where I had no clue. I just did what I was told. And it's the same way in whatever office environment you are in. If you're the new kid on the block, don't walk in with a chip on your shoulder thinking, I know everything there is to know about this job. I can guarantee you, you're going to fail because they're going to step back, say, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Know-it-all, go for it. And then when you fall flat on your face and you start seeking their help, that's when they're going to more or less step in and say, I thought you knew it all. And they're going to rub it in your face. So when you first go in somewhere like that, be a player. Make it your job to do the absolute best that you can do as that you're hired to do. Now, let me just, I want the tip for today is all about that, how you can be better at your job. Now, these people may not always mention it to you, but when you do your job the way you're supposed to, you are being observed by your fellow peers, by your managers, sometimes even by the bosses. Okay. Subconsciously, they're taking note of how hard and how well you work, how well you do your job. They also take note of when you are not performing at your best. Now, these things can hold you back from earning a promotion, being considered for a pay raise, etc. So as a player, learn your job, learn what's expected from you, then go over and beyond your performance. And here's an example, then going back to the baseball analogy. Have you ever seen a Major League Baseball player take a full cut at the ball and it just dribbles out between home plate and the pitcher's mound? Easy out. Everybody in the stadium, everybody watching on TV, everybody in the dugout knows that's an easy out. But that player runs just as hard and as fast as they can down to first base. Most of the time, probably 99% of the time, he's out by a mile. But that one time that the fielder bobbles the ball or makes an errant throw, because this batter hustled every time in that situation, he finds out he's safe. Or maybe even a position with an overthrow, he can make it to second base. Where if he'd have just, whatever, I'm out again, and there's an overthrow, he will probably make it to first, but definitely not make the second. And if it's just a bobble at the first base side, or maybe the fielder picking up bobbles it, and he's just slowly making his way down there, he's still going to be out. But because he hustled he gave 100%, he finds out that he's the hero, right? Be like that ball player. Hustle in everything that you do. Because the one time you do it and somebody important is watching, maybe the owner of the company just happens to be walking by and sees you performing at top-notch speed, even in the face of adversity, you got his attention, right? And you've also made a name for yourself in his mind. Remember, if that same person sees you just sloughing off, not giving 100%, you've also caught his attention. You've also made a name for yourself in his mind. And it may take you a long, long time to change that perception that he has of you. All right. So give 100% in everything you do, even if you're just a low player on the team, because that's what starts earning you the respect. Now, tomorrow we'll talk about the role of the manager in this process. So be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you can be notified of whenever new episodes are being published. Till then, keep up the good work, because you are awesome.